Hello, today I'm going to talk a little bit about dirty eggs and how to clean them. There are several ways you can do it. You can wash them with chemicals, I don't really like that, mostly because once you wash an egg, you add water, which makes the bacteria grow, which means that you have to throw it in the refrigerator because you've started a chain reaction that you can't stop. A lot of people think that just because you sanitize an egg that you've killed all the bacteria, and that's not exactly true. I just saw a recent study that said that after cleaning the egg, every egg averages about 300 bacteria colonies still alive on the egg, even after disinfecting the egg. Now, once you add the water, those 300 colonies begin to grow, and after a few weeks, the colonies are up to over 1,000 colonies and growing exponentially. So, one of the things you want to do is you want to keep the egg as dry as possible, and you also don't want to put a pooey egg on like this on there. Now, we've had a lot of rain in the barnyard, so there's a lot of dirt on this egg. Normally they're not nearly that dirty, but I grabbed a nice dirty one just to show you how you can dry wash an egg using an egg brush. Now, I don't tend to use the commercial egg brushes. They're not, at least the ones that I've found, are not washable, but a drywall sponge, you can get them at the hardware store. They're actually just a sponge with sandpaper on it. These are fully washable. Now, this one needs to be cleaned because after you get done, all this right here is the poo that you've taken off, but you can just rinse it off in the sink. These things don't work very well if they're wet, so you're going to need more than one, because once in a while you're going to put a thumb through an egg. It's inevitable. And once you do that, you're going to have to wash this off, and then in order to continue, you're going to need to wash this off and then let it dry. Now, I have several types here. I've got this one, and then I've got some bigger ones. Now, I like the littler ones better, but these big ones, I suppose I could take them and cut them in half, but they work just as well like they are. They do have some that have an angle here for getting corners on the drywall. You can use those too. It doesn't really matter. I don't usually use this side, although I do once in a while. If you've got a big thick piece of poo, like right there, you can just wipe that off like that. It's a lot easier, puts a little bit more pressure. Oop, there you go. I just put my thumb through an egg. This one must have been cracked before I started. So I'm just going to leave that in the sink. I'm going to wash my hand just because I don't want to have any of that egg mess on my hands when I grab another egg. Now, fortunately, because it has been raining a lot, I have a lot of very dirty eggs. Here's another one, and you can see this has got all kinds of poo on it as well. So I'm going to take this egg and I'm going to just rub it like this, and as you can see, all that poo is coming off. Now, like I said before, you're going to break some eggs once in a while, just because if they are cracked, you're going to find out, which is another benefit. A lot of times you can't see those cracks on the eggs, and if you throw them in your carton, they'll turn up later as leakers or whatnot, and that's not exactly what you want to do if you're taking these to market. You don't want to have a bunch of busted eggs when you go to the market to sell your eggs. And it doesn't take very long to get this poo off of there, and sometimes it does leave a little bit of staining. If you have marron eggs and you really keep after it, it'll take off all the darkness on the eggs and scuff it up a little. Now, in case you're wondering, that is a fairly clean egg, and these can go in the refrigerator without having to worry about poo inside your refrigerator or on your counter. You can leave it either one. A lot of people think, well, I just scraped off the bloom. Not so. If you look at the microscopic photos of bloom, it's actually down inside the pores of the egg quite a considerable distance, and this doesn't do it. This won't take that off. It won't get in the pores. And you really have to work at it to get the dark to come off of a marron egg as well. And you know how easy those are to scratch. Now, it does kind of shine up the egg. It makes the egg shiny. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But this still does have the bloom on it, and it still works just like it normally would. You can leave this egg on the counter and it lasts just as long as one that you haven't touched with the sandpaper or with the egg brush. But it's a very good alternative to washing and using chemicals on your eggs, and even you can even do this for eggs that you're throwing in your incubator. Now there are a couple of things on eggs as far as incubators go. The bloom actually takes, and it has a function of plugging the pores, at least initially during the incubation process, so that it doesn't lose so much moisture through respiration of the egg through the eggshell initially, but because it breaks down later on in the incubation process, it lets later on it lets more moisture out, which is what nature designed this egg to do. You know, this egg is designed to have a slower rate of loss initially, greater towards the end, and then when you do the lockdown, it'll let more moisture into the shell. So this is the best way to preserve your eggs and have a fairly clean egg. Now that doesn't mean that you can't, that you can take this egg and just crack it in your pan. One of the problems that you have is that this is not a sanitary egg, so you still want to wash these just before cooking. It's important because you don't want to have all the bacteria. If you break a piece of eggshell off and it lands in your egg, well, then you're going to have a moist egg, and bacteria love moisture. You're going to have that, which can transfer bacteria into your egg. So it is a good idea to wash these under warm water just before use. And you can feel the bloom still on these eggs. If I wash this right now, I'll be able to feel the little bit of sliminess that you get when you first wash an egg, and I'll be able to feel it come off of there once I've washed everything off pretty well. But that's what you wind up with just a simple egg brush.